Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sell by Nextivity's hospitality webinar. We're going to be covering cellular coverage solutions for hotels and restaurants. I'm Dean Richmond. I'm the head of marketing at Nextivity, and I'm joined by Zach Brogden, our regional sales director. And also in the background, we have Paul Rigatti and Emily Beck, who are going to be moderating the questions and serving some of those up along the way. Zach, when we started brainstorming on which webinars, which verticals we really wanted to hit, you came to the marketing team with this one. You want to tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, Dean, I appreciate you and the team and all of the folks that are joining today. We're excited to have you here. There's a lot going on in this vertical market. It seems like not just the hospitality industry, but many of the other vertical markets that we have maybe seen a quiet last year, 2020. I don't think we need to go into crazy detail as to why, right? I think everybody's tired of talking about COVID, but I think the exciting part is that travel is really starting to pick back up. And with travel picking back up on the airline industry, ultimately meaning that the hospitality industry is picking back up as well. And so without spilling all of the beans about the entire webinar, I'll just kind of hit a couple of notes here. But, over the course of the last few years, we've seen a substantial increase in the use of cellular devices, right? And we've also seen an increase in the use cases of said cell phones and tablets and cellular-enabled equipment. So I've said this over and over and over the last few months, is that it's not just about my cell phone doesn't work any longer, right? There's a lot of facets behind the use of cellular-enabled products that are requiring remediation because of the lack of cellular RF inside of buildings. So in this case, right, hospitality. Now, sit back and relax and take a few notes while you're at it, and let's talk about Nextivity and what we're doing in this industry. Thanks again. So first of all, let's talk about a little bit about Nextivity and where we came from and where we're going. As you can note, there's a number of awards that we've won with amazing products that our engineering teams have introduced to the industry. We are a San Diego-based company. And in the first 3 years, right, we started in 2006. In the first 3 years, we were developing what we consider the IntelliBoost chipset that we'll get into in just a moment. And then we came out with our first product in 2009. But all of our folks on the engineering side of things are out of San Diego. A lot of people don't know this, but we're decently small. We're 110 employees, but 55 of whom roughly are engineers. And so we take great pride in the engineering backbone that we have at Nextivity. We're a global company. We're approved by over 200 carriers across the world in 100 different countries. And so we're really excited about what we have, not only here in the United States, but with our global partners as well. So I'll pose the question: why 3G, 4G, and 5G cellular is important for the hospitality industry? Dean, you want to take it away, brother?
Yeah. So, I think we're going to start with one of the points you're making is that, we're traveling again. Last year was an anomaly year in that, travel went down for the first time in a really, really long time. I would say if you look at the numbers here, things are looking good. 2021 is already seen 20% plus growth in travel. And throughout these next few years, it's supposed to exponentially grow. And then on the leisure side, that is also picking up. In fact, I think we're all getting sick of each other at home, and we need to have a little bit of an enjoyment. So far this year, leisure travel is exceeding where we were at 2019. It's projected to continue to exceed throughout 2021. So we've got around a 10% growth over 2019, but you're looking at almost 50% growth over 2020. So really nice growth that's happening there. So we're back. We're getting out. We're getting around. It's awesome. Now, over the course of this past year, you've seen the amplification of really environments really pick up. It was already there before. In fact, some great groundwork had been laid over the past couple years in the hospitality industry, in which new apps were coming out. But now the need of being more touchless was amplified. So you're going to see some screenshots from various application companies here. We're not pitching any one application. There's a lot of great ones, and a lot of the big ownership groups and different brands have customized and delivered their own, and they're doing a wonderful job with them. But there's really four key things that I want to hit. That's, I would say, that we're going to hit on here is the improvement of the check-in, check-out process by doing this with your mobile phone, the bolstering of safety and security and the staff with this, and providing easy access to the services a hotel has. We're going to talk about how that's impacted, and in general, helping your staff and making sure that staff is even better utilized than it was before. And this is all empowered by the power of a cell phone. So I'm not going to hit all the wonderful things that you can do with these apps, and both features for the guest and then the backside of it for the hotel staff, but it's enormous. When we started dealing with some of the integration groups that were pitching why they needed our equipment, they started into this a little bit, and we learned reams of information about why and how cellular is really the cornerstone of communication in the hotel world today. Because of that, clearly, a hotel cannot afford bad cell service. Hotels rely on that TripAdvisor or that Yelp review. If you get the cell service sucks at this property review, that's really one that's going to sting. And because it's now a cornerstone here, this has to be addressed. The hotels did a great job at providing Wi-Fi over the years. This is taking the communication the next step. And, the carriers have done a wonderful job of putting towers up everywhere. So we have great tower density. But as you know, cell signal is blocked, and all signal is blocked by building materials and things like rebar and cement and sub basements and all that stuff. So there's a lot of impediments, walls, outside walls, inside walls that are stopping cellular. So let's dig into that hotel check-in and check-out. If you've ever attended a big tourist area on the family trip or on a convention, those lines can be what seemed like a mile long, and everybody hates them. So a couple of years ago, there was a survey done by Zebra, and 70% of guests wanted to use their phone for check-in, check-out, so they didn't have to stand in that line. They wanted to get to their meeting. They wanted to start enjoying that vacation. Who wants to stand in line with their kids saying, "Are we done yet?" No one does. And so the amazing thing that's been done here is really making this go away with check-in, check-out on your phone if you want to. Obviously, traditional check-in is still there. But it also allows you as a hotel owner to utilize your staff better. You don't have to staff as many people at that front desk. You can actually staff them in different spots that will help gain you money in other services. So it's great for staff utilization as well.
Hey, Dean, just to make a point on that last slide, I would also make the argument that, as we start picking back up with trade shows, that as safety becomes an issue in the last year, we've noticed that we've started to really have an uptick of safety and the utilization of our cell phones over touching other things, right?
Right.
And so with that said, right, we've started to see a need for cellular devices, whether it's tablets or your own cell phone in trade shows as well. So it's not just about the hospitality, but, we talk about hotel rooms and safety for hotel rooms and all of that, but also in the convention centers that these hotels have as well that are being utilized for trade shows too. So I wanted to make a point of that as well. Thanks, Steve.
Great point. So moving on from the check-in, check-out, you then can use that same app, your same phone, as the key as well. And the estimates are out there that a hotel can save $1,000 a month on those environmentally unfriendly little plastic cards that we all use to check in, check out of the room. So you've got a win from a user experience, and then a win, obviously, from the cost. So you've got, so far we've talked about better labor utilization. We're talking about dropping the cost of these card keys. So things have already started to economically make sense for a property. And that's why you're seeing these deployments. Big names like Hilton and Starwood hotels, they've already done this as far as a platform and standard as they're getting that into their properties. Then there's the digital dining menus and mobile ordering that you can do on your phone. If you haven't gone to a restaurant in the last year, you've got these QR codes, which were hot in Asia and Europe, 10, 15 years ago, but never took off in America. Now we had a real reason to use them. And it's, again, a great user interface. It gives the customer a chance to look at it natively on their own device. If you're like me and you're in a dark restaurant and you couldn't see it, you were using your cell phone as a flashlight anyway. Now you can make the font as big as you want and blow this menu up, and you can see, and all from the security of those that are concerned on the health and safety side as well, that this is a contactless thing. You're not reusing that same menu over and over and over again. You're using your device. And oh, by the way, the reports back on this are higher sales. You're looking at the ability to put specials in and out and not relying on your waiter to remember everything. You're seeing all those things digitally there. And then this not just for restaurant eating, it's things like spas and things like that. The reports are that people are more apt to buy more when this information is in front of them all the time, which also touches the mobile pay in environment, which again is something that has really taken off in COVID. It's grown by like 400%. Mobile pay has, as this advances, again, another touchless opportunity. And the estimation is that mobile pay will end up dominating payments over the next 5 years. So this is just another trend that really took off because it was touchless. And again, with that app and that full experience, you've got people in the property, more in touch with the other services that the property offers. So your spa menus, your room service menus, you're seeing people utilize these things more. If you ever had to call down to that front desk and maybe the spa person was on the phone with somebody else or whatever, and you're just, I guess this is taking too long. I'll go ahead and just not get the spa treatment. Well, now you can just book it yourself, and all of this is at your fingertips. You can see what the openings are. I used this last weekend. I went on a little trip on our anniversary weekend, scheduled it, and didn't have to talk to a person till I got there. So these are great advancements, and it's led to increased sales in these categories. So we've talked about the why and the driving need for cellular. Zach, can you kind of tell us about what we've got as a solution in Cellfy Quattro?
Absolutely, Dean. I appreciate that. So there's a ton of products in the Nextivity in the Nextivity like portfolio of products, if you will. We'll talk more or less on the Quattro today, but without going any further, let me tell you a little bit about the design of the product and why we did what we did and how. So I made mention earlier that with about 110 employees, 55 of whom are engineers, we very strategically went to market with a product that was engineered specifically to go after the market and the carriers independently. So we have the IntelliBoost chipset behind our product. All of our active components have this particular chipset. But it's also important to know that it's not just the chipset that we engineer, but it's also the actual hardened product itself, the tools behind our product, the cloud-based solution for which when you install a product, you can commission and see the product post-install. And then all the applications that coincide with our product as well. So Nextivity does the entire start to finish, A to Z, in the engineering in the San Diego office. So if you've watched any webinar of Nextivities in the last few years, you've probably seen this slide. And it's exciting to see this slide because it still holds true to just about everything that we do, right? So in this case, Nextivity is obviously the best in performance, hands down, with 100 dB versus our competitors' 65 or 70 dB max. We're about 1,000 times stronger signal. For our integrators that are on the phone, you realize that to be great because you don't have to look over your head and try to think about the next time that you're going to have to go and fix the problems in that particular install. And for the end users on the phone, understand that when we install our product, we don't have any issue with it, right? We don't have to worry about the next time that we have to go there and keep bugging business timeframes when you've got customers and folks that are staying within your hotels. When you start looking at the product as a cost per square foot, Nextivity's product it still holds true again, right? Lowest cost per square foot, which is a great return on investment for the capital expenditure that the customer might have to put up front, right? The ease of install. So I love this, and we'll talk a little bit about it here in a moment again, but the ease of setup and ease of install is incredible. The first part is that it's category cable based, and so there's not a lot of traditional coax that has to be put into a building. The other part is that there's no RTAs or retransmission agreements with the Nextivity product, ultimately meaning that you can get in and get out, right? When you turn the system up and you commission it, you can walk away and everybody is happy and the product just works, right? And then it's network safe, right? For the FCC and the carriers, we've given blanket approvals, pre-approvals for the product to be turned up and commissioned. And then the last thing is it's self-organizing behind the IntelliBoost or the IntelliBoost chipset, right? It's got a lot of intelligence within the product so we don't cause interference at the macro side or any other wireless products as well. So again, right, 100% peace of mind for the customers, integrators, and end users as well. So the product. As I mentioned, we're going to really talk about Quattro today. There's a whole slew of products within the Nextivity portfolio, but just know that we have a ton of products in our arsenal. And just also take note, right, is that this isn't a product-specific webinar, but it's at least good to know what Nextivity's up to and kind of where we're going with the product overall. The Quattro family is really known for its versatility and the scalability in all facets for the business owners and the integrators too. In this case, right, we're talking hospitality. So from public safety, and we all know, right, in each of the jurisdictions, there's in some cases a push and a case for public safety DAS, right, for regulation purposes. And then a lot of cases, just the need for cellular enhancement and remediation as well. So our diverse family of products really allows the customer, whether it's the integrator, in this case, hospitality end user, right, to really pick and choose and have the versatility that they need for the solutions for which they're trying to take care of their customers in the best way. So Quattro. So it's really proved itself as a high caliber product in the in-building space for the last few years. So for the hospitality sector and individually, really the Quattro product is the best solution for the job. Small hotels and large hotels alike, Nextivity has a product that will support all of the needs. So there's a lot of writing on this slide here, but let me make mention of a couple of things. I made mention earlier that there's no RTAs or retransmission agreements, ultimately meaning that the carriers have given us pre-approvals to turn these systems up. Nextivity is a Part 20 product. 90% of our products are Part 20. We've got a couple of Part 90 products as well, but ultimately meaning that we can just go in, install the product, commission it, and walk away, and everybody is happy, right? For the end users on the phone, right, the folks that are over the hospitality industry and the business owners there, the great part about Quattro, since it is a category-based solution, it's really a quick and simple installation for both new construction and existing construction or retrofitting. So obviously, if the hotel is already open, right, we're not going to spend weeks and weeks and weeks and cause a lot of interruption for business, right? We can get in and get out as quickly as needed to install and commission our systems. There's also an ROI for hospitality, right? And that's one of the more important factors here in this conversation. For example, is that you take Dean made mention of this earlier, right? He took his wife out for his anniversary trip. Well, the same use case for a lot of folks. You go out and you spend $250, $300, $400 a night for a hotel room for your spouse or for business or whatever. And you go in there and you can't make a cell phone call. You can't call your family. You can't call your boss, and so on and so forth, right? Are you going to stay in that hotel twice? The answer is very likely, if not 100%, no, right? You're probably not going to stay there again. So the ROI is incredibly important, a part of this conversation. And then lastly, it's just the safety part. So it's not just about, do our cell phones work anymore? It's about the safety of the environment of the hospitality space, convention centers, the retail space as well, that might be within those hotels as well. So that's the Nextivity Quattro product overall. Just know a couple of pieces here. Again, 100 dB versus our competitors 65 or 70 dB. Lots of remote monitoring opportunities as well. We're all PoE, so we don't need extra power sources at each of our nodes. And again, carrier approved and FCC approved to go forward.
Hey, Zach. One of our questions.
Yeah, Paul.
One of the questions from the audiences came in that I thought would be advantageous to answer live is, we boast the flexibility and the advancement of our solution and how it gets installed with the simplicity. But how does that translate into an ballpark cost per square foot? And how would that compare, obviously, to the counterparts of solutions out there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Paul. And obviously, if I miss anything, please help me here. But I love the versatility side of Nextivity's product line. Ultimately, you look at it like this. Let's say you got a hotel and a convention center. the convention center becomes the main point of need, because you got a lot of people in a space that doesn't have any cell phone coverage, and people want to come back, right? You want to keep the ROI and people returning back to that convention center. Well, a couple of months later, they realized, well, crap, our hotel doesn't have very good coverage either. And so you can take the existing infrastructure for the convention center only and translate that into the entire hotel if need be, right? So that's the first part. And then the other part of that was cost per square foot. So cost per square foot obviously certainly depends on the density of the building. Wide open spaces, we've seen projects installed at a much lower cost per square foot. But in the general kind of case of cost per square foot, you're looking at anywhere between 70 cents and $1 per square foot. Our competitors, right, on the iron DAS side, they're great products, but the problem is two things, right? Two major pain points. The time that it takes to install, commission, and get those systems turned up. And then the second part is cost per square foot, right? In some cases, you're talking $1.50, $2, $3, $4 per square foot. So Nextivity's solution obviously comes in much less cost per square foot for a neutral host-like solution. Did I get that one right, Paul?
Thanks, Zach. Excellent.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So as you may or may not know, and those that are new to Nextivity, we brought fiber into play earlier in the year, and I guess middle of last year maybe. And so what we did was we started realizing that in a lot of cases, aesthetics was a really big issue. I keep using the use case of a hotel and also a convention center, but a lot of positions that business owners have is they don't want antenna farms all the way across each of the buildings that they might have on their campus. So Nextivity brings fiber in for a number of reasons, but in the hospitality space, if you do have a hotel and convention center, or even a tall hotel, right, a multi-story building, you don't have to have multiple antenna farms on the top of the roof or roofs and cause kind of a gross looking roof situation. So instead, you can bring fiber into the Nextivity product, and it used to be a 1 NU to 6 CU solution. And now with fiber, it becomes a 1 NU fiber hub with a total of 12 CUs. Obviously, again, right, it's scalable and expandable in that regard, right? And so that's the really interesting part, is that Nextivity saw a need. And again, we take pride in our engineering. We saw a need where aesthetics, amongst other issues, became a problem. And we wanted to make sure that we covered that with a fiber hub. So I appreciate what we're doing on the engineering side. We've seen a lot of success with this product so far. And we're really excited to see it in the future of hospitality and other vertical markets as well. So last, but certainly not least in the product side of things, and I don't want to touch on this too much because we've had a lot of webinars about this, but public safety is obviously a very large concern, not only in the hospitality industry, but many, many vertical markets as well. And as the code and the enhancements of public safety as a regulation across the board is expanding, Nextivity earlier this year released the Quattro-Red solution, which was a LMR and FirstNet, or LMR commercial for 700, 800 P25 and also FirstNet. And so the great part about this is that my boss, Tim Lewis, likes to say, right, it's not always about hitting singles on the integration side, right? It's about sometimes hitting doubles, right? Can we also sell a public safety product with a cellular solution? And now Nextivity can finally say we can. And so obviously it's a big push for regulation. As a son of a firefighter for 32 years, it's really exciting to see this becoming coded across a lot of cities and states. But Nextivity is really, really excited for this product and what we've done so far with it. And so if there is a need for your hotel or your customer that might be an end user that's a hospitality customer, Nextivity has a product to support both cellular and public safety.
All right, Zach. Yeah. So I appreciate you kind of taking us through the product line and what we have have to offer. Let's talk a little bit about some practical application though, and get into some of these case studies.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. So look, I mean, again, right, lots of words on a lot of these slides. Not going to go through these verbatim, but there's a lot of really interesting concepts here. And this first one is one that a lot of our larger cities and integrators in the larger cities also, key end users, right? Those folks that are on the call that are owners and business people in the hospitality industry, is that when you have large facilities, a lot of times you have large issues when it comes to RF and the environment of RF. And so in this case, Steve Klinget-Smith, a good friend of mine in this industry, was able to have success in a Moxie Hotel out of Manhattan. So the normal issue that you have with these large buildings and then the urban environment, right, is that, there's a lot of buildings that are very tall, right? And RF doesn't really do a great job of kind of surrounding the buildings, if you will. And so for this case, there was a sub-cellar location, multiple stories underground, that obviously had very little, if not zero, coverage. And so they tried some products before, had very bad issues with them, but they brought in Quatra 2000, which was at this point, right, it was an all-carrier solution, so 2 in use for each of the carriers. And then for this, right, we had some great news. We performed very well at a max level. So the employees and also the staff were very, very excited to have coverage underground in a position where they did not have RF whatsoever. Right. So this is an environment that we see very often. Something else that we've seen as of late is, passive DAS situation, wideband boosters. While they come in and they win per price sometimes, right, they don't always perform. Matter of fact, we're seeing it a lot where a wideband and a passive solution, they won on a position of price, but we had to come in and rip and replace. And this was another solution or a project where in San Antonio, there was a rip and replace where a wideband situation did not get the strength that it needed to survive and be happy for the customers that were in there. And so Nextivity was brought in, the Self-Fi Quatra. Again, we talked about this a number of times, but I love this quote, right? The result as a quote, it says, Self-Fi Quatra is a game changer. We're excited about the opportunities that both the current and the future versions of the products will bring to our business, and most importantly, our customers. And we're seeing this quite a bit, right? Where we're having to kind of go in and be the hero sometimes because other products aren't doing first what they're saying they're supposed to do, but then secondly, the RF environment in the situation when they're first installed might be okay, but Nextivity, right, when things might change for other products, we have the intellect behind our product to see it through and kind of change with the RF environment on the outside of the building.
Yeah, I think the important note here, in this case, AT&T was getting actually no service, and you kind of pick at that on the why. Why does our solution perform and that one didn't? It's because it's channelized, right? It's if we're delivering 2 carriers or 4 carriers, depending upon the product, it's actually like having a dedicated system per carrier that we have. And that's what that channelized solution really means, where a broad wideband product doesn't have that channelization like that and can't discriminately fix the problem, is why we've been in these rip and replace situations.
Yeah, I agree, Dean. Thank you. So we talked about conference rooms quite a bit already in this call, but this just stands true. The challenge in this case, right out of Philadelphia, is that the conference centers had no coverage whatsoever. And so what we're starting to see is that conference rooms, conference centers within hotels, a lot of times they're becoming a position, a place where people are coming in to have multiple meetings, whether they're traveling for business purposes, whether they're personal purposes, whatever. There's a need for cellular as a result of the ROI, right? Bringing people back to these hotels, right, for these conference centers. So Nextivity came in with Quattro again, and it deployed, and we deployed that. Owners' expectations were probably decent, and then we went well beyond their expectations as we normally do.
Yeah, and all of us have attended events. Obviously, if you're in a conference situation and you're part of the sales and marketing function, a missed phone call could be a missed meeting, which means missed revenue. So this is a pretty key one, really, for all of us in this world. Cell service is not a luxury item in a conference space. It's a must.
I think about how many times I've been in a conference room, Dean, and needed my cell phone to work for email purposes, right? Or text messages with customers and all of that stuff. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there. So I love this because this goes back to one of the slides that Dean kind of portrayed earlier, is that, in very nice hotels, in very prestigious hotels, or even just a normal hotel that people stay at, right? If you have terrible coverage, people will leave reviews. Now, I'm one of those people, right? I leave reviews on restaurants and hotels and flights and all that type of stuff, because I feel like people should know, and I leave great reviews too, but people will know if you don't have good cell coverage. And, this is the challenge, right? Long-term luxury rental suites and hotel top 20 floors had poor coverage, right? People were leaving reviews. People weren't showing back up. And so the return on investment to bring Nextivity or solution for cellular is absolutely necessary to keep customers returning back for normal business, right? So in this case, right, the results had great coverage for all carriers: AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint.
Yeah, I think the old adage, if you had a great experience, you're going to tell 4 or 5 people, but if you had a bad experience, you're going to tell 100. Speaks volumes in a situation like this. Now there's a handsome feller.
I don't know who that is. Kind of looks like a Southern boy to me. Well, for those that don't know, that is me on top of a hotel out of Jonesboro, Arkansas, my stomping grounds where I went to college. And I had the astute privilege of not only walking this hotel, but also getting the project for the Embassy Suites in Red Wolf's Convention Center. This was a really interesting concept because we talk about getting in before projects or maybe retrofitting, but in this case, right, it's really important to take note that getting into a hotel or any space for that matter, right, for our integrator partners on the phone, right, getting into any space, but in this case, hospitality, before the walls go up, you get a better understanding of what you got and how much equipment and all of that type of stuff. But you also get in when the electrical contractors are there, and that becomes, when you start talking about cost of ownership for the end user, the cost of ownership is actually down when you can get in there before the actual building is fully built, right? And so this was an exciting trip for me. I flew in from San Antonio to make this trip, and again, just the importance of trying to get into a project well before the walls go up would be probably greatly beneficial for both the integrator and also the end user too. But that doesn't mean that we're not great in retrofits as well. So another part of this conversation is essentially just the renovation projects, right? So, you get in beforehand. Well, in some cases, right, there's a lot of retrofitting needs as well. So you start talking about, the return on investment. Well, when you have issues like, you got to paint, you got to do the repainting and put new flooring in hotels and the new beds and all that type of stuff. A lot of times what we're starting to see is not only is it like the beautification of hotels in the hospitality industry, but within the beautification and push, there's also a technology push as well. So Nextivity has seen a substantial amount of opportunity for retrofitting, right? As you can see here, Las Vegas Hotel and Casinos, Texas Urban Upscale, Modern Midwestern Luxury, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on and on about the opportunities for which we have had to go in and have retrofit opportunities to go into these hotels that have seen a need, right? Because, right, a lack of folks returning because of lack of RF, right? So if they can bring in Nextivity in to make sure that they have cellular remediation, it's extremely important to bring customers back, so on and so forth. So I love this use case here.
Now a little closer to my house.
Yeah, do you want to take this one, Dean?
Yeah. So Southern California is close enough to the technology world that it actually has been beta testing some of these bits and pieces we've been talking about for more like 5 or so years. So we started getting this push once we saw Quattro really hit the market 4 years ago, and it's only been building. One of the first real pushes that we had was around mobile POS in the restaurants and delivering their premium services that I covered at the very beginning on the business case side. And we saw a lot of success in these high-end properties that are really tourist destinations. So the dining menus and mobile pay and the spa menus, entertainment options, all of those things were the classic reason why there was such a push in this area. These are actually a few years old that we did. They're not the brand new ones that went with 4,000. And worked like a dream. It was a night and day difference for these properties, and really, we've seen success in that resort destination area. In fact, in a couple cases, we're going to hit about success, what it's led to in our latest products as well. But before we get there, I know this is one that you did, and hits a classic problem that we have for cellular in this one.
Yeah, and this is a conversation that I think we're probably on the cell side of things seeing and having every single day. With new construction, and there's a lot of it. I mean, I just left Minneapolis, and I think their new state bird is the crane right in the city. It's incredible how much construction is going on all across the nation. But with new construction, and as we really kind of navigate the world of new construction materials, there's a lot of what we are now hearing as LEED certified buildings. And LEED certification comes from energy efficiency, and with energy efficiency becomes a real freaking issue with RF. It's really, really bad for RF environments. So what we've seen here is that we had the AC Hotel with another great friend of mine in the industry, where it was a Quattro 2000 all-carrier solution. And the problem was that it was, again, right, it was a retrofitted build-out out of the DC area, but there was a lot of pre-existing infrastructure with LEED certified construction materials. And so, again, right, with LEED certified construction materials, it really restricts RF from coming into the building. And so what we were able to do here is put the Quattro 2000, as it says, right, an all-carrier solution on the first 3 floors, right, which covered the lobby area, bar and restaurant, executive centers, and general manager's offices in the tenant space, right? And so what we're seeing is that Nextivity is now really not just helping with, hey, I just need cell phone coverage throughout the building, but it's also, as these LEED certified buildings, and it is a certification, right? You have to go through the process to become certified. Well, within that becomes real issues, and Nextivity can fix the issues for the tenant and the folks that are within these buildings as well. So as you're seeing new construction, be aware, right? There's real issues with RF in these situations. So we talked a little bit about public safety earlier. It's important to note that, we're obviously very cognizant of what's going on in the public safety world, especially for hospitality. So there's a lot of code around this for public safety systems. And in the Florida area, we were able to complete a resort out of Florida. And what this says is the resort group wanted the highest end system that could be installed fast and managed remotely. We talk about it over and over again. Nextivity bringing a product with category cable changed the game, right? There is an entire amount of product that uses a really hardened, lossy coaxial based solution. And with Nextivity doing the horizontals with category cable, we can get in and get out very quickly. And with our Wave portal, which we didn't cover today, but the Wave portal is an incredible selling point for both the integrators and the end users, because we can see what that system is doing in real time, which is a great cause for, if anything were to happen, which we don't expect it to, but if anything were to happen, we can see it remotely and take care of the issue in a lot of cases from many, many miles away instead of having to roll trucks. So just know, again, right, public safety and cellular in the case of hospitality, Nextivity can take care of that. So in the last case study, go ahead. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that then we kind of end on really the global chains that we deal with. Again, we're a global company. We've done hotels in Europe and in Asia as well. Anywhere from the main hotel to the underground parking that exists there. And one of the hot things that's going on in Asia right now that you're seeing a lot of deployments, and we're going to be doing an article based on that soon, is around elevators. So we have a really nice solution around elevator space as well. So if you're part of a global ownership group, we've got you covered there as well, is the message here.
Yeah, and one last thing that I'll add to that parking garage commentary, Dean, is something very interesting that's come out in the last really year as electric vehicles have really started to shine. Parking garages become kind of a staple point of charging these vehicles. And so with electric vehicle chargers, they need a lot of times cellular remediation for data throughput, information dumping, and then also just to work in general. And so if you are in the hospitality space, whether you're an integrator or the ownership group of a hospitality building, just know that Nextivity can and have and will a million times over help with the electrical vehicle charging stations as well. That's a huge part of our go-to-market right now. And we've seen a lot of success in the past, and we'll see a lot more success in the future with that. So, Dean, sorry, I wanted to make mention of that because that's really important in today's world.
Great point. We just did a couple articles on that topic, and you're going to see more as that's really heated up in that topic. So with that, I'm gonna turn us to any maybe questions that Paul, I know you've been answering in the background. Is there anything that you would like to serve up for us?
Yeah, one of the questions was in regards to our newly available Quatra 4000 Fiber Hub. And as it was mentioned by Zach, the Fiber Hub is our answer to providing our solution into larger premises, high rises, subterranean use cases where the signal needs to be taken, thousands of feet away. The question was, what are the advantages of using the Quatra Fiber Hub, and could you use that as a second network unit to support another 6 coverage units? And yes, you don't need to co-locate your Quatra Fiber Hub to take advantage of it. You can reduce the amount of donor antennas and hardware associated, like splitters and couplers, by introducing a Fiber Hub in lieu of a second network unit. And I know that's quite, a mouthful, but it's we're really proud of this introduction to fiber with this Fiber Hub and all the opportunities that it brings. I think a number of questions had come in with the overall interest and really new to many in the industry that this is a solution that does not require the coordination of the carrier. It does not require you to fill out paperwork with the FCC to obtain a license and become a licensee of rebroadcasting licensed spectrum. Zach touched upon this for a bit too, but we reiterate to our integrators, those that are new, that this is a solution, as Zach mentioned. When it's installed and it's powered on, you can literally walk away. There's no waiting like the incumbent solutions. And it was like that for a long time, that you required a long wait times and onerous paperwork to complete. Not with our Quatra solution. For the most part, there are special solutions that we rebroadcast bands that don't have that FCC allowance. But for the most part, our solutions are power up, optimize, and go, and move on to the next opportunity. Thank you.
You know, Paul. Yeah, Paul, I want to make mention too that if we do have the end users on the phone in the hospitality space, what's really important about that particular comment is that a lot of products in this industry on the Iron Dash side that require the carrier coordination and the approvals from the carriers, is that just because they install it today does not mean that the system is going to be turned on today. And in some cases, it can take up to 18 months for that system to be turned on, right? Maybe even longer than that. And so to your point, right, Nextivity can get in and get out as quickly as we need to with the system turned up, right, and not looking over our shoulder, wondering when the next time we're going to have to show up is, right? So that's a really, really important facet for maybe the business owners that are on the call today.
Thank you, Zach. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and just to give a sneak peek to folks, you mentioned the fiber as well, Paul. There will be more fiber solutions coming soon, so stay tuned on that. And we're excited to extend that story, as it's really been a big part of growth in getting into these more and more enterprise-like implementations where you have buildings, just the efficiencies that are gained there with that solution. Any more questions or highlights that you wanted to hit with us, Paul? I know.
I think that's all for me.
All right. I know we asked a few questions out there during the show. I don't know if Emily, you want to tell us what kind of data we had from our three questions that were kind of fun.
Yeah, so just in our audience here, it looks like 67% are participating in business travel. So kind of sticking with the statistics that we found. And it looks like 70% or 76% are planning to do a family vacation or leisure trip of some kind this year as well. And of course, 96% of those people are saying that they are planning to stay at a hotel during one or more of those occasions. So just a fun little poll to see that what the data we're collecting is definitely accurate with what we're experiencing and planning as well. So
awesome. I know I'm excited. I said last weekend we were off out and about. In next few weeks, we are officially back in office here 100% of the time. I think it's next Monday is our official day. So we're excited about that. But our business travel has resumed, and it really has resumed for a while now. And I will be off on a family vacation in the next month myself. So I know I'm excited about all of it and just getting back to normal. Zach, do you have any last words you want to give to the crowd?
Well, I'll say I very much appreciate everybody's time today. I know that we're all getting very busy with summertime, and I hope everybody has a great vacation. And if there are any fathers out there, have a wonderful Father's Day this weekend, and be blessed, my friends. Thanks again for joining us.
All right. Well, we're going to see you next time at the next webinar that we have, or we'll see you in person. We'll be at APCO and IWC. We have Mobile World Congress in Barcelona that is starting on June 28th. So trade shows are also picking up, and that obviously creates great buzz, great memories, all staying at hotels in this space. So we're looking forward to it as the year progresses. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining today, and you have a great day.